The Fujifilm X100V is probably one of the most desired cameras today, and you may ask the question why. Well, I think it's because it's an amazing camera. I think this camera is unique compared to all the modern day cameras because it looks anything but modern. It looks like a phone camera, and I think that's what's the big appeal to it. It looks beautiful. Whether you admit it or not, this camera is gorgeous through and through, from the design, the body, to the color, to the dials and the buttons. This camera looks like a film camera, and I get so many people who ask me about this camera more than any other camera that I've ever shot with because it looks really cool. And while the Fujifilm cameras are beautifully made and super cool and have this great cult following, I never thought that the cameras would benefit me as a creator, and I was wrong. This camera packs so far above its weight class that I didn't even think was possible until I actually got the camera. And as far as the specs go on the camera, it is a 26 megapixel APS-C sensor with a 28mm lens. It is weather sealed if you add the front filter on the front, so you have to pay for that, but once you get it, the camera is weather sealed. It has a 3-inch tilting screen on the back, which I didn't really think I would use, but it's really great for shooting photos at the hip. I took this camera on a road trip with my wife to Colorado last week, and it has been so amazing to carry with me on big hikes where I'm not carrying like a heavy camera bag. I'm not worried about multiple lenses. I just can like take photos. Now, the 28mm lens, I actually think is a really great focal length for this camera because it's wide enough to be able to capture landscapes, but you can also get close enough to shoot portraits. So before I bought this camera, I didn't really have a designated photo camera. I have my A7S III, which can take photos, but it's not that good. I wanted like a designated camera, and I never really paid attention to the Fuji cameras because, again, I didn't think that they would benefit me in a shooting experience. And it wasn't until I actually saw Chris Brockhurst's video on his Fujifilm X100V that he started talking about the film simulations, the size of the camera, and being able to take it anywhere with him that I was like, oh, I actually think I should maybe look at this camera. And I ended up biting the bullet and bought the camera. So here's been the things that I love about this camera, shooting with it day in, day out, carrying it with me everywhere I go. The size of the camera is honestly really the biggest selling point to me because I wanted a camera that I could take with me everywhere, shoot photos of friends, family, events, walk around, and just capture little moments. Because the size of the camera is so small and so light and so portable, I can take it everywhere and it's not a burden. The thing that really shocked me about the camera is the ability to shoot in auto. I shoot all of my photos in auto. Which may sound scary to some of you, but this camera has done such a good job at shooting auto shutter and auto ISO, and I've been blown away with it that I just let it stay in auto mode. The only two ways that I change exposure if I need to brighten or darken my image is I use the exposure compensation dial on the top, or I change the aperture on the lens. The only time that I guess I do change it to like a manual shutter speed is when I'm trying to get like more motion blur in my shots. But other than that, you may be rolling around in your grave when you hear that I shoot 90% of my photos in auto on this. Now, if the auto feature didn't get you, this one will. All the photos that you're seeing are JPEG only, straight out of camera. And that's been the funny experience that I've had is I've always been like a raw shooter my whole life. Like I want to shoot the raw photos. I want to edit them my way. But you can do so many tweaks in the camera that all of the photos you've seen are JPEGs. Now, the way I do shoot the camera is I shoot JPEG and RAW. I duplicate it. So when I go on like bigger trips where I may want to edit the raw photos, I'll export those and save those and upload those into Lightroom. But I actually haven't used any of the photos because the camera is so good at being able to tweak the color inside the camera. And the film simulations are even better. You are able to go in and change all of these different settings, from the grain amount to the grain size to the shadow lift. All of these different settings you can go into the camera and change, and it's created amazing presets for amazing images straight out of camera. So you can create like up to 10 different presets in your camera and change the settings depending on how you want to shoot. All of the photos that you've seen is taken on like a Portra 400 preset that I created. I did create most of it from the Fuji X Weekly website, which is Portra 400, like version 2. If you like the look of these images at all and want to know my settings for that, here are those settings, so that way you can pause the video, upload these into your Fuji camera, save them, and then your photos can kind of look like mine in a way. And again, I know some of you are mad probably right now thinking that I'm not editing the raw photos, but these are all straight out of camera. Like every photo that you're seeing right now, I haven't edited them, changed them, brought them into Lightroom at all. Now, you have the option to not only look through the regular optical viewfinder, but there's a little switch on the front when you look through it, and you can actually change it to a digital viewfinder. Like a mirrorless camera, you're able to see the image through the viewfinder. You're able to do that here. I love this feature because I don't always shoot through the digital viewfinder. I actually prefer to shoot straight through the glass to see my image quicker, but it's nice to be able to look through the viewfinder and get an idea of what the image is going to look based off of the film simulation that I've set up and how my exposure is looking. You can also look through and flip it another way and get like a little preview window in the corner. It's kind of hard to explain. I'll try to show it. But it gives you just a little tiny corner where you can actually see a digital version while you're still looking through the actual glass version. I'm not light on cameras, not because I like put them through rigorous testing, but because I'm clumsy and I drop it and I ding it up and I throw it in my bag or whatever. And having this camera being built like a tank is amazing. I have put this through hell and back and it seems to be holding up great. I don't shoot video on this camera because of a weird quirk that I've experienced. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can help me in the comments below, but when you shoot video on this camera, the only way to change settings on video, like your shutter speed, your ISO, your frame rate, all of those, you have to use the touch screen on the back of the camera. You cannot use the dials. Please, if you know a way around this or I'm missing something, please let me know in the comments below, because I think it'd be really cool to do another video on this camera, just about video, and see if it's like even a good video camera in the first place. So not every camera is perfect, and some of the cons that I see in this camera for somebody is the fact that it is a small body. It may not be like for you. For bigger hands, it might be hard to hold. The other thing is that it is an APS-C sensor. Maybe someone's wanting more of a full frame look. I would avoid the Fuji line because I think they're all APS-C sensors except for the medium format ones. And then the other one is like a fixed lens. For someone who's wanting a more adaptable experience, having a fixed lens, that might be a turnoff for you. I totally get that. But for somebody who's thinking about buying one of these cameras, you really have to think about that. Do you want to buy lenses in the future? You can't do that with this camera, so that's definitely something to think about. Another option for you would be the Fujifilm X-E4. It's relatively the same size. It's a little bit smaller, it's cheaper, and you can change the lenses on it. The problem with that camera is it's also out of stock as well, but that might be the thing. And that might be the last con that I can think of with this camera, is if you've saved up all your money, you're wanting to buy this camera, you can't get it. It's out of stock. You're waiting for a long time, and if you're impatient like me, that can be really hard. But what's great about the Fuji line of cameras is you can do a lot of these different film simulations and looks through all of the Fuji line. So some cameras that I would suggest looking at if you're wanting to buy a Fuji camera, you're wanting to stay in that wheelhouse, the Fujifilm like XT series, the XT2, 3, 4, those are great cameras to buy. And if you're wanting to buy one of those cameras, check out the Gear Focus website. I've actually found some really great deals on those Fujifilm cameras. Or if you're looking for other cameras, do that too, because we have a lot of cameras on there. So shameless plug, just wanted to share that. That's all. The pros outweigh the cons when it comes to this, and I think that says a lot about the camera. The film simulations make the shooting experience so inspirational and fun to do, and it makes you want to grab it and go shoot every single day. And the overall image that comes out of the camera is great. The colors look phenomenal, and Fuji has done such a good job at creating an image that is pleasing to the eye. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The ability to take this camera anywhere with you is amazing. You can throw it in your pocket, you can throw it in your backpack, you don't have to worry about it. You can point and shoot, you can capture moments, and it's just an inspirational type of shooting. And to some of you that may sound like romanticized, but we're creatives. We want to be inspired. And so when you have a camera that inspires you to go out and shoot, you're going to shoot more and you're going to think less and you want to create. And this camera has really just inspired me to take more photos. And I'm not even a photographer, but I love shooting with this camera. For the person who's looking for a camera to take everyday photos with, enjoy moments with family and friends, give the camera to them to take photos and not really think about it and it not invade in your life, this is the camera for you. And if you want to know my personal opinion about this camera, this is hands down my favorite camera that I have ever owned. I just wish I bought it in black.